Yeah, it's pretty cold when you get in the shed in the mornings, but you get the fire on, get a cup of tea on and do some work. Soon warm up and forget about the cold and get down to work.
Yeah, first thing we do in the day is, well, for me it's put the computer on. What do you do?
Warm the welder up, give it a bit of a kick.
Gets there eventually. Barth and I met when we were at uni, and we kind of went out riding and stuff like that. Our background was in downhill kind of thing, that's what we wanted to do. And because we were riding in places where the trails weren't that tough or big or anything, we both wanted a hardtail that you'd have the fun of a downhill bike on, but without having to have a massive gnarly trail. So yeah, that's
where the idea of the Belter came from.
Yeah.
We made most of the tools we use ourselves. We made the jig ourselves, and we've got our own pile of scrap that we dig through. And just if we need something, we generally make it ourselves if we can. Yeah, as a kid growing up, my dad was into racing cars, and if he needed something, he'd make it himself. I got into racing downhill as a teenager and got really annoyed with my bike breaking halfway through the season. So I had this idea in my head that I was going to start my own bike company and make a downhill bike that would last a whole season without breaking. From then on, I went to college and got the grades to go to uni and all that kind of stuff with the idea in my head that I was going to start a bike company and make frames myself. And then I met Tam at K9, and we figured out that we both wanted to start a company at some point. Then after uni I got a job as a welder, and while I was there I got a phone call from Tam one day while I was at work saying, so we're going to start this bike company then, and we've just done it in our spare time from then on, really. We've both held down jobs and just done the BTR thing in the evenings and weekends, and building bikes in the shed, and they're going all over the world. We're getting inquiries from places like French Polynesia, and we've just got a Japanese distributor, and it's
European distributor as well.
It's quite nuts, really, just to think two guys with a dream in a shed, and it's actually happening.
Yeah. When I was at K9, I worked as a design engineer, and we did all the stress testing and stress analysis, kind of figured out what was actually going on with the bike, what forces go through it, what it's got to do, how the suspension behaves, what's good, what's bad. That's where I learned to do that, and it's something that I've carried over to BTR, and we still do all the stress testing in CAD. And we work in a shed, but everything is still done on computer and measured with calipers. It's all
top notch.
Yeah, we still hit things with hammers every once in a while, but it's all got to be accurate, because at the end of the day someone's going to have to go careering down a hill on it or something. So
the first frame we sold went out to a guy in California, which was so exciting. Turns out someone had stuck a picture of the frame up on some American forum, and he liked the look of it and the idea of what the Belter was aimed for, and just ordered it.
yeah, straight off, no questions asked, pretty much.
We made a custom full sus frame for a guy that organises races in the Kent area. He was speaking to Tam about suspension and all the current bikes and stuff like that, and we designed it from the ground up for him, the amount of travel he wanted, leverage ratios, cockpit size, everything. It's just that's the kind of thing that we can do because we're flexible like that. The
people that normally come to us asking for customised frames and custom geometries and stuff are basically kind of one of two types. They're either someone who wants something unique, they want a bike they can turn up to a race and they'll be the only person with that bike there, or some people come to us and they literally can't find what they're looking for on the market. Sometimes they come to us with a geometry and they say, I want this specific geometry, and other times they come to us and say, I want a bike that's kind of behaves like this and does a bit of that, but it'll still go uphill as well as down, or whatever they want kind of thing. So if someone wants something that's similar to what someone else makes, but in our style or made from steel instead of aluminium and that kind of thing, we've got the flexibility to do that, where a major manufacturer just couldn't. Well, they can, but it costs them a lot of money, so they don't, basically.
When I was racing downhill as a teenager and stuff, like, it was always in my head that, in order to be a better rider, you had to ride a hardtail. You'd always be at races and you'd see these absolutely tiny kids on a full 8-inch downhill bike. And it's just like...
World Championship downhill bike.
Yeah. Like, how are these kids supposed to learn the skills that they need in order to be fast on a bike that takes all of the track out? So, I had it in my head that I wanted to make a downhill bike for kids of that age. So that's where the Ripper frame came from. It's a 24-inch downhill hardtail based on the Belter, but just a
scaled down a little bit. Yeah.
We started building this frame yesterday morning. Got all the tubes in ready, and
it's coming together now. Still a lot of welding to do, but in some ways the welding doesn't take the majority of the time. It's all the setup and the preparation, the notching, the cleaning. Deburring.
Well, we could save ourselves so much time if we just notched the tubes and stuck them in the frame. The customer would never know the difference of deburring all the edges of the gussets and stuff like that, but when we're making the frame, it makes all the difference to us. So when you're getting a frame from us, it's had the...
Someone's loved it from the start, basically.
Yeah.
It's not just a job. We want every frame that we make is a bit of a child kind of thing, a bit of a creation. So every single one we give a bit of attention to along the way.
Yeah. With the two of us here in the shed, it can get pretty cramped.
It gets a bit out of hand, doesn't it?
Yeah, when we're in mid-frame build, it's hard to keep track of where you're putting things and stuff. You're like, where's this tool, Tam? Have you seen this?
Spend half our time wandering around going, where is it? What have I done with it?
I'll be scratching through all the tools on the bench. I'm like, Tam, why don't you just put stuff away?
I'm using it.
It looks a bit like organised chaos in here, and it is a little bit like we've...
so it's only a little bit organised, it's mainly chaos.
Yeah.
I think the way that the two of us look at bikes is quite different to a lot of people, because we just look at them purely as something that's functional.
I see my bike as a tool to do a job. As long as it works and gets me down the hill as fast as I can, then that's all I care about.
Yeah. When a bike is going to work right, it will look right as well, so it's quite a nice thing that it kind of works in.
Yeah, and you could say the same thing about a weld. If a weld looks nice, it's nice and neat all the way and everything's uniform, you can say that that's going to be nice and strong.
Yeah, be a good weld.
Yeah. I find that when you're behind the welding helmet and you're sitting there concentrating on the weld, it's quite a lot like being in a race run. You're concentrating on just the task in hand, trying to make it absolutely perfect, no mistakes anywhere. Yeah, that's all just part of the craftsmanship that we put into the frame, the pride that we take into making a frame. It's all just part of the time that we spend in trying to make these frames as good as we possibly can.
We wouldn't bother making a frame if we didn't think it offered something different to what was already out there. We've got no interest in making another bike the same as everyone else. It's just, there's no point really. Yeah. So all the stuff that we do, we try and add something of ourselves or something that's going to make it perform better, work better, feel nicer, look nicer, whatever it is we're going for. Try and give the best we can into every one kind of thing.
As we're building the frames, we can upload pictures to Facebook and email the customer pictures of their frame builds, in motion. They seem to really enjoy
seeing the process, seeing things, a frame from tubing just actually turn into a bicycle. It's quite cool. I enjoy it.
Yeah. And then when the frame's finished and we've put all of our blood, sweat and tears into it, we feel completely attached to it, and then we send it out the door and we hear back from customers how much they enjoy riding the frame. Like,
It's really satisfying,
yeah.
I'd say. Just getting
like
good
the-
feedback from people when they get their frames through the door. Because we're in contact with pretty much every one of our customers by email or by phone or whatever, they generally get in touch to be like, oh, my frame's just arrived, I'm so excited.
We just recently announced that we're going to be revamping the Belter, just giving it a few tweaks and stuff like this. And one of the guys who bought a Belter commented, was like, how can you improve on such an awesome frame? And it's just like, when you hear things like that, it just makes it all worthwhile. Like all the late nights and
Yeah.
you know,
Bikes are
working.
actually out there and people are really enjoying them. It's not
Yeah.
It's not just us. It's cool.
Yeah.
It's really good.